They say first love never dies. I'm here to tell you they're right. I was 17 when I fell in love with Emma Clarke. Under the bleachers of our high school, we promised forever with trembling hands and stolen kisses. But life had other plans. She became the face on every billboard. I became the hands that dressed them. 30-2 years. 4 continents. 1,000 what ifs. Then last month at Paris Fashion Week, I turned around and there she was. This is our story. The one we were always meant to finish. I still remember the exact shade of pink in the sky the first time Emma kissed me. We were 17, hiding behind the art building after school. And I was showing her the sketches I'd been working on, designs for dresses I dreamed of making someday. "You're going to be famous," she whispered, her fingers tracing the collar of a jacket I'd drawn. "And you're going to model them," I replied, tucking a strand of her golden hair behind her ear. We spent that entire summer inseparable. Every stolen moment felt like breathing for the first time. We'd lie in her backyard, fingers intertwined, planning a future where nothing could separate us. She'd walk my runways. I'd design exclusively for her. We'd live in a loft in New York with a cat named Picasso, but September came with acceptance letters that would tear us apart. Her modeling contract in Milan, my scholarship to Parsons in New York. We were 18, ambitious and terrified. The night before she left, we stood in that same spot behind the art building. "This isn't goodbye," Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "It's just ... See you later." I believed her. God, how I believed her. We promised to call, to write, to visit. For 6 months we tried, but her shoots took her to Tokyo, then Sydney. My internships consumed every waking hour. The calls became shorter. The time zones became excuses. Until one day, the calls just ... stopped. I never stopped loving her. I just learned to live with the ache. Building my fashion house consumed the next 3 decades. Atelier Simone became synonymous with elegant, timeless pieces. I dressed celebrities, royalty, and yes models whose faces graced every magazine cover. But none of them were her. I dated, of course. There was Marie, the gallery owner in Berlin who taught me to appreciate modern art. Then Claudia, the chef in Barcelona who made me laugh again. I even came close to proposing once to Dr. Rachel Kim, a surgeon with kind eyes who never asked why I sometimes went quiet during romantic movies, but I couldn't, because every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma. I followed her career from afar, a secret I kept even from myself. Emma Clarke became a supermodel icon, not just a pretty face, but a force. She graced countless covers, walked for every major house, except mine, which felt like a knife I'd placed between my own ribs. She married a British photographer named James. They divorced 5 years later. My mother asked once why I never settled down. I told her I was married to my work. She looked at me with those knowing eyes and said, "You're still waiting for her, aren't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to doubt. The fashion world took me everywhere: New York, London, Milan, Tokyo. Snow Paulo. I built an empire, won awards, mentored young designers. I had everything I'd ever dreamed of professionally, except the one thing that mattered. Some nights, I'd pull out that old shoebox from under my bed. Inside, faded Polaroids of us, pressed flowers from her corsage. A note she'd slipped into my locker senior year that simply said, "You, always you." I'd trace her face in those photos and wonder, was she happy? Did she ever think of me? Did she keep anything of ours? Paris Fashion Week, March 2025. My spring collection was inspired by Second Chance's flowing fabrics and sunrise colors, garments that move like hope itself. The critics called it my most personal work yet. I stood backstage at the Grand Palais, making last-minute adjustments to a model's hem, when my assistant approached with her tablet. "Simone, There's someone here who insists on seeing you. She says she's an old friend. Not now, Claire. We're on in 10. She said to tell you. Picasso would have been a terrible cat name. The needle slipped from my fingers. I turned, and there she was. Emma Clarke stood 20 feet away, 50 years old and more beautiful than any memory I'd carefully preserved. Silver streaked through her golden hair now. Lines creased the corners of her eyes, laugh lines, worry lines, lifelines. She wore a simple black dress that somehow made everyone else invisible. "Hi, Simone," she said, her voice exactly as I remembered it. Time collapsed. We were 17 again and 50 and every age in between. I walked toward her on legs that forgot how to function properly. "Emma, I know I should have called. Should have reached out years ago. But She paused, eyes glistening. "I saw your collection online. Second chances, I thought maybe it was a sign." "It was," I whispered. "It was always for you." We stood there, two women who'd conquered the fashion world separately, reduced to trembling girls by the gravity of what we'd lost. "I never stopped," she said. "Neither did I." Behind me, Claire cleared her throat nervously. "Simone, 2 minutes to show time." Emma smiled through tears. "Go. I'll be in the front row." Just like I always should have been. I showed that collection through a blur of tears. And when I took my final bow, I looked directly at her. She was crying too. We met for coffee the next morning at a tiny cafe in La Marais. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into walking along the Seine until sunset painted the sky that same shade of pink. I married James because everyone said it was time to settle down. Emma confessed as we sat on a bench near Pont des Arts. But I called him your name on our wedding night. We divorced soon after. I haven't been with anyone seriously since. "Why didn't you find me?" I asked, though I already knew. "Because I hadn't found her either." "Fear," she said simply. "Fear that too much time had passed. That you'd moved on. That I'd ruined the one real thing I'd ever had." She turned to me, and I saw the girl I'd loved under those bleachers. "Why didn't you find me?" "The same reason you didn't," I admitted. "I was terrified you'd forgotten me." She laughed weightily, taking my hand. "Simone, I couldn't forget you if I tried. And God knows I tried. I traveled everywhere, worked constantly, filled my life with noise. But every quiet moment, you were there." We spent 3 weeks in Paris, making up for 32 years. We talked until dawn, shared every story, every heartbreak, every triumph. She told me about the loneliness of being beautiful in a world that only saw her surface. I told her about the emptiness of success when you have no one to share it with. "I have a proposition," I said on our last night in Paris. "Come back to New York with me. Not as my model, not as my muse, though you're both. Come back as my partner. In everything." Emma kissed me then, soft and certain. "I thought you'd never ask." We're 50 now, starting over. My new collection? It's called Coming Home. Every piece designed for her, with her, inspired by her. They say you can't go back. But they're wrong. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you go forward together, finally carrying everything beautiful you were always meant to be. So here we are, 2 women who spent 3 decades apart, learning to be whole together. If you're reading this and thinking of someone you let slip away, reach out. Life's too short for what ifs and maybe some days. Emma's next to me as I write this, sketching designs for our first collaborative collection. Picasso, yes, we got the cat, is purring between us. What's your threads of forever story? Have you reconnected with someone who changed your life? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if this story touched your heart, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Hashtag threads of forever, hashtag love returned, hashtag second chances at love, hashtag mature lesbian love story. Hashtag true love, hashtag fashion and love, hashtag LGBTQ, love story, hashtag emotional journey.